Hello, my name is Andy and I am the Village Idiot. I'm armed with a car and a GoPro and an unhealthy amount of time on my hands. I'm using that time to attempt to visit every civil parish in England. You're watching the East Lindsey series. This is the biggest district in Lincolnshire, containing 188 civil parishes. Without further ado, here's today's offering. Welcome back to East Lindsey, everybody. Now I'm beginning this one outside a pub, sat under a tree on a lovely little bench, and I think this village is going to be one that you're going to love from start to finish. There's plenty about this place which I'm pretty sure you're all going to enjoy. It's got an interesting name as well, and I don't know whether you know this about me, but I have the inability to burp. There is a name for it. It's a medical condition, but I can't for the life of me remember what it's called. I simply cannot burp, or you could say I can't belch, which is interesting because the name of this place is Belchford. The East Lindsey series is sponsored by Gainsborough Cycles, 01427 617 752. For all your cycling needs, this is your one-stop shop, located at 20 Ropery Road, Gainsborough, or online at gainsboroughcycles.com. There's a link in the description. Gainsborough Cycles, ask for Trevor Halstead. Here's my disclaimer for people who may be watching me for the first time. I say things as I would in my native accent and dialect. As a result, I may not pronounce things in the same way as the locals do. Remember, I'm a visitor. It's impossible to know everything. Leave me a comment, spin me a like, and bash that subscribe button. Let's get to today's parish video. Belchford, Belchford. This week in East Lindsey we come to a place which many would consider to have quite a humorous name. This is Belchford, but it's got nothing at all to do with the average digestion system. Instead, it means Belchford, suggesting a watercourse in the area. That would be the River Waring, which runs underneath the village for the most part and is generally out of sight until it leaves Belchford behind on its way to Horncastle. It rises in the hills around the village, and boy, there are some steep ones out here. Mind you, that's been very much beneficial to Belchford in the past. You see, until just over a decade ago, this place used to hold an annual downhill race that attracted people from all over the UK. It's no longer a thing, but it gave this small community 11 years of unforgettable memories which are still treasured by all who were involved. The locals have quite a tight-knit bond with each other. This is evidenced by what I found both on my walk around and in the church, as you'll see. Belchford has a few bits of interest, including a pub, an old school, a village green, a chapel, and an unusual cairn, which greets you as you drive through the centre. On its edge are the South Wold Hunt Kennels. So come with me again through another East Lindsey village, and let's see what Belchford has to offer us all. Make no mistake about it, Belchford is surrounded by some big hills. The locals, though, know how to make use of them. This is Furlong's Lane, and every year this used to become a racetrack. The Belchford Downhill Challenge was held every September as a competition for gravity-powered soapbox carts, sidecar outfits and bicycles. They raced down this hill, a half a mile in length, reaching speeds of up to 50 miles an hour. The event attracted quite a number of competing teams from around the UK and was combined with a craft fair with other attractions for children. The spectator turnout for the event was generally about 3,000, so as you can imagine, it was a pretty big deal. It ran for 11 years in total, but its success was ultimately its downfall. It became so large that it was physically impossible to run it. With great sadness, the organisers called it a day in 2012. You never know, maybe it could return in the future. I mean, the hill's still here, and it was a great success after all. We start our walk at the western end of the village, and this route will be a lopsided figure of 8 effectively. The tree where I began is located outside the one and only pub here, and that's the Blue Bell. This is seen not just as a pub and a restaurant, but also as a great meeting place for the community. At Christmas time, a pensioners' Christmas dinner is provided here, funded by village charities. Apart from the pub, Belchford has no other formal retail outlet. However, a fish and chip van, mobile post office and other grocery deliveries do come to the village on a weekly basis. Next we have an old blacksmith shop. That's nothing out of the ordinary for rural Lincolnshire. Industrially and economically, Belchford has mostly been about farming or other rural activities throughout its existence. These days it's maybe less so though, because a lot of people living out here are either retired or commuters who use the proximity of the A153 to their advantage to get to places like Lincoln, Grimsby, Louth and Horncastle with relative ease. In the centre of it all there's a parish notice board to keep the community abreast of goings on, and now it proudly displays my TVI card. Here's the village hall now, a light and airy building that can seat more than 100 people. It was built in 1978 after the village hall committee secured a lease on the land on which it stands. A group of volunteers and local businesses then moved a pre-existing wooden village hall from Branston in North Kesteven and rebuilt it in Belchford. The village's first parish room was opened in 1885 and it enabled villagers to hold meetings and social gatherings. It was demolished in 1970 as it fell into disrepair. For a while, a schoolroom took over in an old chapel, which we'll come to later. Now we come to the Church of St Peter and St Paul. This has also been at the heart of the village community for quite some time. This small, modest structure of mainly green sandstone forms part of the Hemmingby group. Although the present building only dates from the 19th century, there is evidence of a church here before 1153. At that time, it was shared between the priories of Spalding and Trentham. When entering this through the semicircular west doorway, the colour of the east window casts a wonderful pale blue hue across the chancel and nave, making an almost ethereal illusion. Well, I'll say this much for Belchford, even though I've only been here for about 10 minutes already. It's a nice, friendly little community, and there's a couple of reasons I can give you for that. First of all, I was stopped by one of the locals who was very intrigued as to what I was doing here with a camera, and they said they would put the word out on their little village website that they've got here, so that's cool. Yeah, everyone was quite happy about it. There's a little group of them all sort of gathered around me, so yeah, that's pretty cool. There's another reason in this church. Now obviously we're looking into the chancel here, and I love these beautiful sort of sea blue pews that are here by the way, but at the back of the church, turn the camera around, there's a little table just as you walk in, just there, and it's full of refreshments. There's all sorts in that. It's probably the best stocked church I've ever been in my entire life. I'll show you what I mean. So we've got a bowl full of crisps. There's a biscuit tin here, which the lid seems to be stuck, but if I can get it open, I'll see what's in it. There we go. Oh wow, look at this. Loads of biscuits. Brilliant. There's a tub full of sweets here, apparently. Look at this. This reminds me of that church we went to in the East Riding in Wold Newton that had sweets in it as well. Absolutely fantastic. And it's not just that. There's this table. There's also another little table here, which has got all sorts of things. You've got tea and coffee and hot chocolate as well at the back here. Wow. And various flavours of soup too. Look, we've got a tomato one there. What's this one? Vegetable. I tell you, the thought that's gone into this is fantastic. There's even some multi-purpose wipes, I suppose, for wiping your hands after you've devoured everything that's on offer. Fantastic. It's brilliant. I've never seen a church with so much stuff for visitors. as this one here in Belchford. It's great that they think of the visitors that do come here. It's brilliant. Back to the road, and this is the main route through the village from east to west. It's worth noting that Belchford is often grouped together with nearby Fulletby for a few reasons. The two share a parish council, for example. This lane here, which crosses the River Waring, leads to Fulletby. It's also where the village green is located. The green was purchased by Belchford and Fulletby Parish Council in 2014, using grant funding. It was formerly part of a larger field that the previous owners were selling for development. Well used, it now holds village fetes and nationally important celebrations. This next section sees us go up Narrow Lane, and that name's very apt. This isn't the sort of road you'd like to be meeting traffic on, whether it be vehicular, pedestrian or animal. As I drove into the village to begin this walk, I was met with a pair of horse riders close to this lane, so do be careful if you find yourself driving in this village. It's also pretty easy to get lost up here. With no road markings and lots of overhanging trees, finding your way can be confusing when you get to the corner, whichever direction you approach it from. It takes us back over the Waring in any event, and back to Main Road. Belchford can definitely be described as an idyllic rural setting, popular with walkers and cyclists. The Viking Way passes through both Belchford and Fulletby on its way from the Humber estuary. The settlement developed much as the rest of England. It's generally always been small, but its heyday was undoubtedly the middle of the 19th century. At that time, the population peaked at 700. Belchford now has less than 300 residents. Sadly, a lot of people don't stop to admire the village's quirky features. Even so, you may notice this attractive painted rainbow as you pass through. Now, as well as pretty rainbows on walls, something else that might catch your eye as you drive through Belchford would be this, right in the centre of the village. It's a little cairn, and I've got no idea what it's all about, but I'm about to find out. The story behind the cairn on this smaller village green dates back to 2009. Children from the former St Lawrence School that once served Belchford built the cairn in that year out of flint and stone they found in fields around the village. Inside it there's a time capsule including the names of all the children who helped build it, along with a piece of ironwork. What a lovely story. After the green, the houses continue back towards the church, and we're about to branch off to the right into Chapel Lane. That's where we'll meet the building which for a short time acted as the village hall. For 7 years, the old schoolroom of this former Wesleyan Methodist chapel was used for meetings, as the doctor's surgery, and by the Women's Institute. This chapel was coming to the end of its life in 1977, hence why the new village hall was eventually needed. Although there was a Wesleyan Methodist presence in Belchford as far back as 1780, the first chapel was not built until 1811. The one we've just seen would replace it in 1871. Chapel Lane has now become Ings Lane, a dead end which runs over a tributary of the River Waring. The Bluebell pub is in the other direction. And at the end of Ings Lane, virtually opposite the Bell, the pub that we started at, you can see this building here. Now this, I reckon, is an old school. There's two reasons for that. One, because of its architecture. It certainly looks like an old school, doesn't it? But also because of its name. It's called the Satchels. And of course, a satchel is a bag that you use when you go to school, or at least it was in times past. It's probably not called that these days, but yeah, there you go. That is, I believe, Belchford's old school. Now, we're not quite done with this episode just yet, because now we're going to take a drive out to the east, towards the A153, because there's something else out there that definitely needs to be covered. There's a few more houses and what have you on the road out towards the A153, but that's really it for the village. However, when we reach that main road, we'll come to a crossroads, upon which there's some kennels. They're not boarding kennels, and there's definitely no cattery. Instead, they're all to do with the South Wold Hunt. The South Wold Hunt was founded in 1823 by George Pelham, the younger brother of Lord Yarborough. In the mid-1850s, these kennels were built just outside Belchford, and apart from a brief period during World War II, they've been here ever since. Its hounds are hunted every Saturday and most Tuesdays throughout the season, over a varied country which includes part of the Lincolnshire Wolds and the Marsh. The area extends from Market Raisin Racecourse in the north to Woodall Spa in the south. The hunt hold a point-to-point race annually at Revesby Park. And that's it for Belchford. Thanks for watching, folks. I'll see you again soon elsewhere in East Lindsey. Thanks for watching this video, folks. Don't forget to like this episode if you haven't already. It really makes a difference with YouTube. If you're new here, subscribe to the channel for more videos like this, and give us a share too if you've got friends who'd like it. You can find all the links to my social media accounts below, as well as my Buy Me a Coffee page where you can donate to the channel. Also, if you've enjoyed this episode, have a look at some more videos in this series. Until next time, I've been Andy, also known as the Village Idiot, and I'm out.